store or something. Where they don't get stuff that they put in.
So that's frustrating when you show up and
people come in for something that's in the head.
But you go over to the store.
Are you gonna come? Are you gonna transfer to a different store or just retire?
Yeah.
Get your gold watch.
I'm gonna go back to freelancing or whatever. Stick on my own shingle.
Is that what they call drug dealing nowadays?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to get specific here.
It's okay, we're not filming yet.
Oh, okay.
Damn it!
I
Actually,
we are.
The NSA was listening like usual.
Usual video is unavailable.
Just take a video so it's like that.
Yeah, or something.
I'm trying to read it from over there. There's a lot of O's and what might be zeros. It's hard to.
YouTube.bb.
J.
Are we going to guess that anything uppercase is a zero?
Kind of.
J0X R uppercase J dash
Well,
S
it's extra.
O uppercase M.
There's a
Nothing like recording all of this, right?
Shadow Lake. Yeah. Shadow Lake's probably the closest.
It's
Long
still.
traffic. Yeah. When some people drive 60, 70 miles just to get to that one spot.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's weird. He's a storm. Comes in from California. He's a trucker. So every time he has a computer, he got to our store. No, I was gonna say he moved in the house.
Oh, it's a static shock because I'm like I'm moving. It's not. I'm like for some reason.
You're just not reading that?
Dude, I have been busy.
That's funny.
Well, at this point, I watch the recording. Hi, Sean.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Where do I remember you from?
Oh.
To meet up in Iowa.
Everywhere.
He's everywhere.
Post office wall.
Just don't tell anyone.
Yeah,
Vaguely familiar.
like a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, got her.
Yeah.
She just went to college. She
No,
just.
no, not yet.
Oh,
Next week.
next week.
Yeah, 13th and 14th. I'm in Chicago for a conference. 15th at night, we pack the car, drive back up to the 16th. So I work 1.5 days next week.
No, they're good.
I got
Oh,
things actually
that
putting
was
it
my
over.
delivery too. Okay.
I did love that one.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, you take those easy ones where you can find
There you go. That's what I do. Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
You guys around.
Have a great night.
You too.
Welcome to the September Omaha Linux Users Group meeting. I'm John Larson, a systems engineer at the AIM Institute.
Aren't you the system engineer now?
I am the systems engineer. That is correct. So I have recently switched my Twitter to private because it's a noisy mess for Twitter. So I'm just annoyed at it. That and LinkedIn is probably the next thing to go to. If anybody remembers Bob Dunn, longtime OLUG member and OAS member, he completely deleted his LinkedIn account as soon as Microsoft bought LinkedIn. So good thing I still have his email address, right? Oh, look. Adobe said they're going to be updating Flash on Linux again. We're going to jump from version 11 to version 23.
Did something freeze over that wasn't supposed to?
I thought they were sunsetting all of the Flash players, so there must be something specific for it.
I think the browsers are sunsetting them for them.
It's still, well, that's true. It's still included in Chrome for at least one more release. And then it'll disappear. Retiring OpenOffice. The Apache OpenOffice devs have said there's not enough activity. We're thinking of retiring it.
I guess everybody must have already gone to Libre.
Everybody already did, including all the developers. That was before IBM got it, and then IBM gave it to Apache. So
Oracle got it.
Oracle got it, then IBM helped.
IBM had their own version. They did Lotus.
That's
on it,
true.
Which was actually wasn't bad.
And then
But it got seriously screwed
Oracle
by
said, we don't need this anymore. We can't use it to extend our market dominance.
No one will pay $40,000 CPU for a little office suite.
Raspberry Pi Zero will likely be getting native support in Linux 4.9. I don't even know if 4.8 is out yet. I saw some release candidates, but yeah.
Have we got a raspberry?
Yeah.
Are the zeros easier to get now? So when I was trying to, they were nowhere to be seen.
Well, we've gone from what's that place down in Kansas City? Micro Center. You used to have to go down into the customer service and they would give you one. And the last time one of my friends went to Micro Center, it was on the shelf, but you still had a limit of one.
Wow. That's a pretty big deal. Fedora 25 to run Wayland by default. A replacement of x86. Goodness me. Will it happen? What's that?
It only took how long?
Yeah. Not quite ready yet. Keep pushing it back. But as most Fedora releases go, there'll be at least 3 weeks of delays. So they're already saying they've already delayed Fedora 26 to June. That's how far they're planning to go. A few announcements. The Heartland Developers Conference. Hey, I misspelled September. All right. That tells you I was angry. I'm having September.
I like it.
September. That's awesome. 7th through the 9th at the Embassy Suites Conference Center. All the sessions for tomorrow are full, which is all the work sessions. I'm sure there's some Raspberry Pi stuff going on there. I'll find out when I'm there tomorrow. If you're interested, you can go to heartlanddc.com. Also, the AIM Brain Exchange. It's a learning experience for youth ages 7 to 17. There are Code Crafts events twice a month. They have one this Saturday. They've done some art projects that involve painting as well as embedding LEDs in the painting. And they've made bristle bots. I don't know if you're familiar with those. Yeah. So we are saying if you wish to donate to helping kids explore technology, please visit that page. Now my corporate governance is done. Any questions this evening? I have a question that came in via email. So let's bring this up.
You're pre-screening these, right?
I am pre-screening it. Okay. This came in.
George is always out there.
This came out a couple days ago. It's from a person named Dudley. He submitted it through the OLUG website. He says he's got a 120 gig SSD that seems to have failed, and he was using it as an encrypted drive. So he's trying to plug it into USB. When connected to the machine by USB, the system recognizes the device. The system asks for the passphrase, and it returns unable to mount 120 gig encrypted. The locked device does not have a recognizable file system. That's pretty much SOL.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's using Lux, I'm sure, so he's just, so,
It'll make, well, no, it really won't make a good doorstop because it's not that big.
No, well, you just go through, you HD parm it, you reset it.
The only really way to
HD parm it, secure erase it. It's a new 120 gig drive to play with. I don't think there's anything you really do to get back stuff off there.
I didn't think so. So, Dudley, I will tell you to watch this video and then also give you answers.
The first 10 minutes.
Yeah. So, any other questions?
Speaking of SSDs, in a couple weeks, Nebraska Cert's got their cybersecurity forum lunch and down at Johnny's Cafe, and I'll be talking about wiping SSDs, how to reuse them and stuff. So, Dudley's local.
Ooh, it's the lunchtime.
Yes, it is.
Where you have your choice of fish, chicken, beef, and salad.
Yeah, the 4 food groups.
It's actually really great. I enjoy when I can make them. They're very good to go and participate.
Yes. October we'll be doing a nighttime one, so you should at least go to that one.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any expertise in the room about putting programs on a shell or a Synology?
Interesting.
Or will I be making myself a presentation in the spring?
You might be making yourself a presentation in the spring. I've done packages that were not in the official repository.
Okay.
When I did the Xymon talk, I was adding packages so that my Xymon would report back from the Synology. There is PHP that gets on there. There should be a shell. Yeah, but you should be able to SSH.
Right.
And there should be Vim as well.
I
I shall hold you to it.
go through the stacks of Git and see what I can.
Now, say the question again specifically so I know what it's.
Okay, so what my goal is I have a Synology, and I would like to use rsync to move some files off of my Synology and into some long-term storage.
Oh, like Glacier or something like that.
Well, not actually. I have some
Offline.
of that too, but I've got, it's 3-2-1, so I want 2 media local, and then I'll also be moving one offline to a cloud. So, but I want to start with, I have other stuff set up with the cloud, so I want to just go with the.
Have you checked to see if there's like duplicity for Synology?
There's a couple of interesting backup programs, but they are kind of
Simple.
in 60 minutes. In a quick 60 minutes, I didn't really find a whole lot of documentation.
Okay.
Well, Bacula's got some juicy things. I mean, duplicity is cool.
You did it back to that presentation.
A long time ago, yeah.
It's still out there. Still doing the same.
But all I need to do is fire up a shell inside of
Yeah.
Synology and go rsync this over to something.
Yeah.
So,
As long as when you create the user, and then you give it permissions to get to those volumes or folders,
right.
The home folders are generated on the fly when you log in. It's like var, I think it's var temp homes or something like that. It's like a symlink from
Okay.
homes. I've just seen this recently. That's how I think. So take a look.
Okay.
Okay. All right. October could be you. Presenter needed. Aaron has graciously said he will speak this month. I'm down for November. December is the lightning Christmas round, so
no, I'm up for that.
stand up and stand up.
Do you want to trade October and November?
I don't have anything for November yet. I gotta make it. What do you?
I'll do October.
You can hear my presentation I just did last week if you want.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I could do one in November,
Okay.
but I'm not going to be able to get one done by October.
Okay.
I'll take them.
You'll take October? Awesome.
You're off the hook.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about how I train my beast.
Cattle prod.
Well, it's a Raspberry Pi auditory experiment, right?
Right.
Yeah. So like if they bark, it goes beep.
Oh no.
Okay.
Now this military surplus, it actually.
Okay.
I didn't know they had APIs for that.
No, they did.
Some kind of a sound generator, then, I suppose.
Oh yeah, it generates lots of sound.
I'll give you a reason to.
When I lived in Bellevue, the neighbor's dog just barked incessantly. And it would never get tired. So we tried to accelerate the dog getting tired. And we had an ultrasonic device. It would be like, bark, 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 bark. He would get tired after about 10 minutes. We'd have an evening to watch movies. So.
The best thing I ever found for a dog was not citronella collar. It would spray citronella
Really?
spray in their face when they bark.
Wow. They don't like citrus.
No. Dog with that such a sensitive smell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I gave it away.
Don't.
Hi, Becky.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Was that a potato?
Potato.
Just got in trouble. Should just have somebody at the door.
And she took the potato with her. It's a big yam.
Maybe she can make soup out of it or something.
Yeah, what a.
Okay, dokie. Come on.
Woo! Hey, you're pretty. What screen?
So can you change the timer on that?
That's another sore subject.
I think you need a video doorbell back there.
Maybe a 5-0 and a.
There you go.
You can just power a potato. You get enough.
We were just actually talking about that before the meeting. Aaron's going to talk about Windows subsystem for Linux. Yay!
I would hold your applause. So, what is the Windows subsystem for Linux? Lets you run, simply put, WSL lets you run certain Ubuntu Linux programs on Windows 10, which is very cool in its own right. How to install it? Install the Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. This is the wonderful thing about Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. If you just do regular updates on your machine, most time will say like, oh, you're running the most recent version of Windows. But if you want the Windows 10 Anniversary Edition, you have to use the Windows 10 Upgrade Advisor or be part of the certain beta they're rolling it out to, or something, because you don't actually have any control over what you actually get from Microsoft, because why would they give that to you? So originally I planned on doing this talk on my Acer CloudBook, which has a 32 gig solid state drive. And to install Windows 10 Anniversary Edition, I need 20 gig free. No, it gets better. And my Windows 10 installation, which is nothing but the stock one that comes from Acer after I moved to all Office, all that stuff, is 16 gigabytes. And I know you're thinking, wow, you just can tell it to stick a thumb drive in there until you use part of that. No, none of that. It's just, you're screwed. So your options are, go get me the laptop, which I did. So I'm very happy. I got it at Best Buy. No, that's not the one that counts plus. It might have made a difference. But, and then if you get one of the solid state drive, the regular hard drive with 500 gig or so, you've got enough to just wait for the grinding of Windows Anniversary Edition to get installed by the Windows 10 Upgrade Advisor. Then after this magic happens, you have the Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. And you don't do any things that set off Windows 10 Anniversary Edition, because Windows 10 Anniversary Edition is a very angry OS. If one of the things you can do to test it
Turn it on.
No, it's even better than that. All you have to do is say, hey, is that a Windows 10 box? Well, here, let me plug my Kindle Paperwhite into it. Boom. Blue screen of death.
Oh, wow.
They're working at fixing that now. There's a bunch of other things. It's got some nice features, but for the most part, it's not that big. The big thing Windows 10 Anniversary Edition gets you, for me, was the Windows subsystem stuff. So what you have to do is you have to go to developer mode, which let's just pop out real quick.
I thought you installed it so that you could make the camera stop working.
Under system settings, it's all still
Anniversary.
set her to good old developer mode. And the great thing about when you put it in developer mode is that's a free reboot, because that's what the way the world intended it. Then you can go to the Windows subsystem for Linux Beta in the Add Feature section, and another reboot. And optionally, you can install Sigwin X11 or Xmin GW or SVC, so you can have stuff on it. So after
Reboot your mouse, reboot!
you don't actually have to reboot after that. That's the one thing you don't have to. But so after this point, you have Windows System for Linux. There's a couple different approaches you can take to run apps on a different OS. There's 5 major ones. Number 1 is a virtual machine. We all know about that. That's KVM, Zen, VirtualBox, VMware, etc. It emulates the whole machine, does it all. It's all magical. Number 2 is you recompile applications for the host OS. This is how Sigwin and Uwin work. You take the source code, you recompile it. Not really that tough a deal for a lot of stuff, but you have to have all the supporting libraries, all that kind of stuff. Sigwin has Sigwin DLL, which gives you a lot of functionality, gets your stuff going there. Number 3 is dynamic recompilation program for a different platform. This means they go through, they inspect it all, and they convert it all to the different system calls. There's been some stuff that did. The last one that really did it really well was Apple Macintosh, when they went from to Mac OS 10 running on PowerPC and running on Intel. They used a lot of that stuff to do that and let stuff transparently. Mac OS stuff.
Universal binaries.
Yeah, it's the wonders when you could own both sides of the deal. And number 4 is an application layer. This is like Interx, WSL, or Wine. This maps out some of the calls. It either takes to a native thing or it has an emulation for it. This is how Interx. How many people know what Interx was? All right. Way back in the time, long ago, there used to be this thing called Unix, and there was everybody had their own version of Unix. And this company called Interx had this phenomenally amazing idea to take Unix and run on top of Windows NT. And they did it. They actually went through the open group, got the ability to call themselves Unix. Very few versions of Unix actually call themselves Unix. You got to have a whole load of stuff you got to go through. So Interx had this pretty cool software right on top of Windows, and then they got bought by Microsoft, and then that became services for Unix, and then it disappeared. This is kind of like its spiritual successor kind of thing. But it's cool in its own right. There's a 5th option, which is really cool, but no one really does anymore. And that's run the kernel OS alongside the other. A couple examples of this is Linux did this a lot. They actually compile up the Linux kernel on top of Windows, and they run on top of the POSIX subsystem, which we'll talk about next time for sure. Let's talk a little about the history of WSL. This is all assumed because they're only willing to give out so much information. Years ago, there was a product called LX Run by SCO. SCO being bad people, according to a lot of the Unix people. LX Run was a pretty cool piece of software, though. It included a bunch of Linux source code and was able to run some Linux programs on SCO Unix. Sun also released a version of LX Run that would let you run your Linux executables on Solaris, provided it was x86 Solaris. Unless it was a version compiled for Spark, which case would let it run the Spark version, but no one ever did that because no one did it. There were other systems like HP had one called libHPLX, which is a similar type thing. But this has been updated and enhanced by Microsoft that appears to form the basis of WSL. The reason why we think this is because they have references to LX Run in their documentation, and the command line to install it, if you want to do it that way, is also called LX Run. There's also a project called Linux ABI to show how everything works out to run SCO Unix programs on Linux. This results in a whole lot of lawsuits back and forth. If the Chrysler lawsuit was based around this, the fact they thought they were using Linux ABI to run SCO programs on Linux, but that's all been resolved by SCO going out of business. A little bit more about this. Microsoft had a project named Astoria. The goal of this project was to run Android apps on Windows Phone OS. So you would go from having tens of apps to having hundreds of apps, because not every app would work on it. Obviously, integrated with Google Play or depth like that, like Google Maps stuff would work. But things like, maybe Facebook, maybe the apps that you really kind of want on your phone will be available.
So like a backwards version of Wine for phone.
Yes, exactly. Just say they decided they really didn't need this because of what would it do to their market share? Double it to 2%. So there's a whole other thing about this. Once upon a time, to put another history lesson in here, OS2 was this amazing OS made by IBM, which actually was really pretty nice. They came out with this version called 3.0, OS2 Warp, which had this thing where we would run Windows programs faster than Windows would run them on the same hardware. And their entire point was a better Windows than Windows, which everybody said, well, we no longer need to support OS2 anymore. And it was just the perfect self-fulfilling prophecy that led to the destruction of OS2, that and everything else. But sometimes running apps on the thing doesn't help you all that much. How does it work? This is also assumed because there's little bits and pieces of it here and there, but there's not enough detail to figure all about. Windows NT, back in the time, had three subsystems. It had a POSIX subsystem, which is pretty much the standards that Unix is based on. It had an OS2 subsystem, which really worked out for them. And they also had an NT subsystem, because NT itself actually has a subsystem on top of the core kernel. This continues today's derivatives of Windows. XP, Vista, 7, 8, 10, and so on and so forth. WSL takes the LX run program after most of the relevant system calls, etc., the POSIX subsystem. WSL also provides support programs to emulate some kernel infrastructure as well. They do this using these things called PICOs and stuff, which is their little microkernels, which is kind of cool stuff. The program when run has Linux calls trapped out to POSIX equivalent. Example being, I'm going to open a directory. I want to CD to a directory. What I can do is I can either try and emulate that whole call, or I can go, hey, I see a CD call here. What's the closest thing to that in Microsoft Windows? CD. Yeah, that sounds good. Do that. As long as you handle the file system naming stuff, you'll be fine in that respect. So they capture all the calls. When you get something that's more in depth, like example being fork, that's this little special case because Windows NT doesn't have its own native version of fork. So it has to create a copy of the process, copy all the data, all the information over to it, and then it can run both of them in parallel. So this is some good work. They put a lot of effort into this. It's not a trivial task to do. One question, is WSL open source? You can't find the source for it. LXRun was released under the Mozilla public license back in the day. There's a GitHub page for WSL, but it looks just for issue tracking. LXRun and probably WSL use a lot of Linux source code, headers, and so on and so forth. You just need to know what the errornum.h is, all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole lot of Linux source code inside WSL, inside LXRun, probably. And that might be into the GPL. Because if you do a search for Grokklaw on this, Grokklaw and LXRun, there's a nice little article where they talk about the analysis of it, because this is being used as one of the arguments against SCO having a copyright on and the ability to do certain legal things with Linux, because they released this on the Mozilla public license, so they gave certain licenses to Linux and stuff like that. But it was interesting, it's all right. So LXRun isn't all of WSL, but is a chunk of it. It would be interesting to see if somebody did actually ask for the source code, what they would say in return. They might say, piss off, or they might say, here it is. Curious. But LXRun by itself,
it's like legal limbo right now.
They've got it taken care of, because if they had to, they could open source the top layer of the LXRun stuff. And without the back-end stuff, which we'll talk about next slide, it's not going to do anything. So still, because they make sure to make a mention of that in their deal. So there's a thing called LXSS, which translates Linux calls to equivalent Windows NT call. If there isn't an Windows NT equivalent call, this is called to a Pico driver, which provides a clean room implementation of the Linux syscall interface. The core being their clean room, they have that in quotes a lot for this. So they obviously know what they're doing and all that kind of stuff, because they were actually planning initially using this for Android type stuff. So some limitations: no UDEV, no systemd. You are not running a full version of that. There's not even a VM Linux running. You're running just parts of the application on there. It's it emulates an environment to let some Linux program run. It is designed for Windows to make them happier to Windows 10. That's really what it comes down to. That's what their main thing, their whole deal they say is, hey, why don't you use this to run your Python stuff? It's like, well, Python already runs on Windows. Thanks. But anyway, though, no graphics. You can run an X Windows server to run some stuff, but you're not going to see a lot of the stuff. You're not going to see 3D acceleration and that kind of stuff. Some more limitations. It won't run big programs like Google Chrome at all or Firefox acceptably. It's still in beta. It might always be in beta. It may be in a situation where it never leaves beta. It only supports Ubuntu 14.04 currently. Other versions, distro support may appear in the future, or may not. No real interaction between systems, can't mix grep and PowerShell. It's a separate system. You're locked into this thing, so you can't just call back and forth, which would be cool. But it's kind of interesting. But one thing about the Ubuntu 14.04 stuff, you can take programs from other Linux distributions, provide the LDD as satisfying stuff. You can run a lot of them on there. Some of the benefits. You're running the same executables you'd be running on comparable Linux box, Ubuntu Linux box. You install Vim, and you have the same Vim binaries you have on an Ubuntu 14.04 box. A lot of Ubuntu 14.04 is available to install, but not all of it's going to run. I guarantee, I can promise you that. But the fact is, you can access it all. You can get, update, all the stuff, all the things you want to on it. Another benefit, it's just at the beginning of its development, lots of room to grow, improve. Microsoft seems to be pretty interested in supporting this because it helps get more developers, Linux developers, to be happy with their environment, which is what they're looking for. Looking right down to it. You can run your Linux apps on your Windows box. It's kind of like a dog playing a piano. Every now and then the dog is going to hit a wrong note, but hey, it's a dog playing a piano. I mean, it's impressive in its own right. What if I screw up? And you probably will, because I have several times during my process of trying to install various things and deleting various things and stuff. This is all you got to do to reset it. lxrun.exe/uninstall/full totally wipes it from your system. Then it's lxrun.exe/install. And it reinstalls it all, downloads it, redoes it all. And it works. And then you're back to where you were at the beginning. If it already has a username, I don't believe it asks you to create one again, but it does ask you to create an account when you actually do it.
So when you said like whether it asks you to create a username, unknown if persistence between uninstall.
I don't know if it does preserves that between because I uninstalled it and I pretty much removed my machine afterwards. I screwed it up badly. So but it will ask you when you do the install to create a username. You don't have to create one. There's a couple options you can do with the LXRun. We'll take a look at those a little bit. Is it worth it? It doesn't cost you anything except for the Windows NT box, Windows 10 box. The barriers to entry are very low. So I'd say yes, you have to have a certain amount of disk space and just a certain amount of bandwidth to run the damn thing. If you need to develop for Windows, Linux can be a decent way to do so. It won't replace VMs anytime soon, but it is cool in its own right, like we said before. It works reasonably well. One thing that the Windows guys mention a lot is WSL uses less resource than a full VM with Linux in it, which makes sense because you're just running it on top of the shell. You're not running a whole Type 1 Type 1 VMware type of emulation stuff. So let's fire up a demo of it. I've already got it fired up. Control++.
Make it bigger?
Nope, it's not going to Control++ for me. Well, let me do that. Let's see. There you go. Yeah, it's much better now. Come on. Fonts. Go to font 24. There we go. All right. So this is what the core looks like. Let's do a ps-ef. Take a look, see what's running on the system. Whoa. That's not a lot. We got init. We got bash. We got sudo bash, which is because that's plugged in here. You have the dbus thing, and you got the ps-ef. That's all that's running on the system right now, as far as it can tell, because it's not running the whole thing. It only exists to run these couple things. But let's take a shot. Let's fire up something semi-interesting.
So we have busy ones.
Oh. So I have an X11 on here, so you can run XBill on it.
I don't know what XBill is, but it looks like I'm about to find out.
If you don't know what XBill is, you're too young. That's the problem. Fortunately, you're getting older every day, so that's going to take care of itself. It's a game written years ago, which is gives you an idea how it works.
There was a movie that was very similar to it.
Yes. You have Next workstations, all these. Bill comes and tries to replace them all with Windows. And your goal is to smash him as he comes along.
Sort of a Kill Bill. If you
Kill
could
Bill.
say.
All right.
Bill Gates.
Yes. But if you let him, he'll install Windows on your boxes. And when he gets all your systems taken care of, come on, Bill, a little faster. Nice.
Well,
See? And it becomes, it's Windows. Boom, 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 boom. So. But that gives you an idea. That shows the core of this ability. How did I install this on there? I just did apt-get install on. So it's actually able to figure that out. So let's hop over to sudo bash real quick.
The sad part is that that's still possible.
That press.
There's another event also.
So log in sudo, re-exported my display. You'll spend a lot of time doing that. And part of Synaptic. And if you look at Synaptic, it's got a lot of stuff in there. It's got all sorts of stuff. You can say, hey, let's install, let's say Chromium. And it already is installed in this box, which we'll show you how that works in a minute. So it gives you the ability to install all the packages. If you do a deep package -- list, it comes back with the 14,000 where this regular Ubuntu. It's no different. As far as this can tell, it's really trusty tower underneath. Actually, let's pop over to it real quick. So, one question is, how do I access my C and D drives and so on and so forth under Windows? You CD over to Mount, and there's a C and there's a D. And if you probably figure out what's underneath those. So that part works pretty well. Let's go over to Dev, and let's see what we got for, well, let's see, SDA. There is no SDA, because there is no hard drive. It's all handled through the emulation there. You get a FD for floppy drive, which I don't know if that actually works or not. The block device, null, just the bare minimum of what you need to actually run. But it's cool in its own right, because that gives you random 0, which are always nice to have. But let me show you what happens when you try and do Chromium. Chromium browser. What?
Like September.
Could not open proc modules, no such file or directory. Cannot get list of modules, no such file or directory. And you're done. It's not going to go. It's not as fun as running Firefox. Yeah. Unexpected multi-threading file. This prevents user using namespace sandboxing. The latest version of the Firefox has changed around the way they're doing the process stuff a little bit. They're going a little better with it. And let's see what comes up. Client failed to connect to the dbus name, which there is an emulation for it, but it's only a partial. Failed to connect to socket, failed to do this, failed to do that. Come on, baby, you can do it. I have gotten the GUI on it before.
What about something like Epiphany?
Oh, it won't run known.
Can you run the ESR version?
Conqueror?
Conquer, nah, you could try that, but you'd have to pull an all KD in.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's a something else, right?
But this isn't what it was designed for. It's not designed for somebody to run all your stuff on it. You back out. If you run like Dillo, it'll work. It kind of works. You start. Don't think, hey, what if I go out to YouTube? Let's just leave that experiment to you guys to try out.
But DIA.
What?
The DIA presentation.
Yes. But the fact is, it can actually figure some of this stuff out, which is pretty impressive that it can get this far as it does. given the fact it's just emulating this is emulating approximately 250 syscalls plus, and a small application layer shim that handles mapping all the stuff underneath the NT subsystem. That's impressive that they're able to get this to work. It'd be cool if they would open source this, that they would actually make this available. I would be impressed to see that. But that kind of gives you a rough idea of what it's able to do. One of the suggestions if there's the blogs, they have some good blogs behind this on the Microsoft site. And one of the things the guy goes through when he compiles up NetHack, which my response to that is, why don't you just apt-get NetHack? But he did because he wanted to build a whole environment. I did try this and it did work, and it did look like a valid kernel. I did install build essential, did all this stuff, pulled down the kernel source code, and had a compiled kernel, and it did go all the way through to the end. Did I try and replace that kernel, try and do anything else with that kernel? No. But it generated what looked like a valid kernel. But you're still back to the point where you're playing on the edge of what it can do in terms of application stuff. But they suggest this for things like Ruby, which once again exists on Windows, Python, which exists on Windows. But one of the suggestions they mentioned is if you are seeing Python that's running on Linux, you can run it your own way. And there's other certain libraries and stuff that don't work there and stuff. So, but if you're a developer and stuff and you want to be able to use some pieces of it, it worked pretty well. I'm pretty impressed. I was able to go out and grab Google Chrome through this at the base thing, and copy it over to the mount drive, depackage, install it, and then try and run it and have it core on me. But still, made that far. But we're talking thousands and thousands of packages available on Windows, and it's going to get better. They've said they're not going to stop doing anything. I don't know if they're going to support 1604 or 1610, but we keep trying there. What?
Is Proc there?
Yeah, a subsystem of Proc is there. Just enough to get you by. That's the whole idea, man. It's just
CPU input.
Yeah,
what's CPU input?
I don't know.
Might be some kind of emulation.
That's the real CPU.
Yeah. My Celeron running 1.60 gigahertz. This is the finest laptop you can buy at Best Buy for less than $200 before taxes. But gives you an idea what the core of it does. But the question is, will people use this and actually try it out and stuff? I mean, on my CloudBook, my Acer CloudBook, my thing was, I've been fighting for a day now to try and figure out how to get the space taken care of. And I'm thinking, I've got a way to get Ubuntu on this. It will take care of that Windows problem at the same time. I don't have to worry about any subsystems, any emulation, any of that kind of stuff. But if you're in a situation where you don't have full control of it, if you're talking like a work laptop, it's still, would I recommend this over Cygwin? If you have the source code, everything you want to compile up, Cygwin can do a lot of the same stuff. But I mean, a lot of stuff doesn't compile over Cygwin either. But you have to go out and do, what you can do is you can go out and you can, I haven't done it in a long time. There is a way to go out and install enough of apt-get on Cygwin that you can actually grab Debian packages from the source and recompile them. And largely it works. But you better have a small subset of packages you care about because you're going to be doing a lot of care and feeding of those packages. This one great thing about this, apt-get update, it's apt-get updating. Apt-get dist upgrade, it's apt-get dist upgrading. It is Ubuntu underneath. It's 14.04. See if it actually works. And it does this in the background sometimes too, which I don't know exactly when it's going to run. Yeah, it's going to give a new version of Chromium. I'm sure that's going to fix that problem. But it gives you the core of what it can do. And it's coming down. The development's evolving. It keeps moving forward. I'm looking forward to see how it goes.
I can certainly see them over time trying to position this in their cloud offerings to appease, where you don't have to install these Linux machines. You can just use our infrastructure that we already have invested in. Less.
It also goes to the question of how does this fit into things like, since they have Hyper-V, their Hyper-V technology, and their Docker stuff they're developing too. I mean, Windows is natively embracing Docker as well now. If you look at the new Docker toolkit, which one's this is Docker for Windows is Hyper-V based. It installs on Windows 10 Pro, and the new Windows servers, and that takes just as a Hyper-V type thing. It does the emulation there, but they're saying Hyper-V is pretty efficient as well in the new versions for handling this stuff. But if they get to the point where they can combine this application layer with Hyper-V, then they can run native Docker instances pretty close. They get enough of the stuff running underneath there. Then you can fire up tens of hundreds of these machines, or however many you want to, on a power your machine.
Does it have its own Etsy directory?
Yeah.
Try putting SSHD on it.
I have not. People have. One of the fun games people are playing lately is getting Apache running on there. But keep in mind, we're also talking about this is not really server super friendly. This is designed for client type stuff. But, yeah, it's all out there, very simulated parts of it, which is one of the things. Canonical, I'm not sure what percentage, how the money's working out, what percentage they're getting back from it. I don't know what the relationship is there between the two, but it is interesting in its own right. See how it evolves. But it is baby Linux. I mean, if you go up one, you see lib64, lib, home, Etsy, data, it's all there. Boot spoilers. I think that lessons. Yeah. Thinks it's got grub. Don't have grub. It has that because, once again, this is emulating a trusty tar type situation. But it's still impressive what it can do so far. But I think what else? But that's pretty much the core of how it works. It's give it a shot. It's not bad if you have a Windows box. I mean, if the thing is it going to get you since you need developer features, you have to do a little bit of sidestepping parts of the Windows Store. So you have to have admin privileges pretty much. Which is, are they going to be able to sneak this on your work PC and get control, get a Ubuntu running on top of it? Probably not. You're probably going to be better off trying to get VirtualBox running on a PC, unless your PC is not powerful enough to do it. In which case, it's like there's portable versions of VirtualBox. So that's the demo of it. I'm using XMinG for this one, which I didn't realize they changed that X11 server around now. They changed it a couple years ago, actually. They're now donation-based. You can install the old free version, which is very old. I'm kind of surprised it actually works on this bad boy. I should probably migrate to VCX server, which is a more up-to-date version. What they did is they take the Sigma X11 stuff and they just cut it down to the core of what they need for it. And you can also use Sigwin X11 because it has all the X11 stuff that's built into the regular Sigwin setup now. Just when you install, you have to remember to install Xlaunch, StartX, and Xtools or something. Setup tools, of course. The three of them are. Once you get that going, you can fire it up and stuff. But it's not bad. It can compile a lot of stuff. And the other thing about it is, when it compiles a program, you can take that program and run it on Ubuntu. Because it actually compiles against all that stuff. So you actually will get the same executables you should get on the other environment because it is the same GCC environment, all that stuff. It's not quite the reproducible build stuff yet, which you can talk about that sometime. That is gonna be amazing when that comes down next year or two. So that's the core of it. That's just what I've been playing around. I've been playing with it for a couple weeks now. I'm gonna say I'm still halfway tempted just to wipe this thing and put Linux on there. But I mean, I don't know, God intended it. Say screw Windows 10 and stuff, but I probably won't. I might try and dual boot it, then the next anniversary edition comes along. It'll probably be nice and blow it my dual boot. I can continue that fight.
It'll free some stuff first.
It's not quite 500 gig yet, but it's getting closer.
So is that a 500 gig SSD?
No, God, $200.
Oh,
$200.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part earlier. 14-inch display.
15. 15.6. It was originally 250. It was on sale.
Whoa, bargain.
So I got quite a deal on it. So there's some links to it. Documentation. I sent out the pointer to the slides last night. I've added a couple additional slides to it. So, but the Sigma pointer X11 documentation. You're trying to think GUI. You're going to need to get an X server running on the thing. More likely you're going to run Sigwin because that's the easy one. Microsoft has pointed their WSDL FAQ, which they have a lot of good information about it. I'm pretty impressed by it. I mean, they did a lot of work on it. It's not a trivial effort. The reason why they did it is largely because of the story, and we're just benefiting because they had it lying around.
We're going halfway for you guys. Come on.
So that's all I got on this. Have you got any questions? Anyone see anything? Trying to run anything?
I'd be curious if the Firefox ESR would
Work the same. Let's give it a shot.
You should take that kernel you compiled and move it to another machine and see if it actually runs.
I'm pretty sure it will.
Is it monolithic?
I built it with yeah, pick on it. No, I'd have to bring stuff over, but it'll do it. I mean, I could recompile it. I couldn't recompile it. Come on. That's wrong.
It's the old clock.
Wrong Firefox. Bleach bit, which is always popular with certain people.
Should be mining some bitcoins in there.
1404. Does that have ESR?
Sure, I guess.
Isn't that just 37, 38 or something?
Yeah, it's just back of it. I mean, I'm sure it runs pretty much the same way. This is 48, but I'm sure it runs pretty close to the same. It's just going to be, it's not going to be an ideal environment. I mean, you're better off with something like Dillo or something like that. This Chrome and stuff like that I'm surprised Firefox actually runs on, to be honest. This Chrome just does not like it at all. The other great thing is, two.
We'll fire it up off the main system.
No, it doesn't. There's no integration between these. That would actually be nice. It's just going to think about it a bit, because that's what it does. But you got this though.
Oh yeah.
Let's bring it back.
I don't see
It's
the
the
point.
simple things.
XIs.
It's a test. It's a program to test.
I still don't see the point.
There is no point.
There's no
So you can
point.
find your point when you got 3 monitors, like where the hell is my cursor?
Yes.
20 years ago, that was
The
freaking
bomb.
amazing.
Yeah. Back in the long ago. But the real question is, if I install the Atari emulator on there, how will that one? I have not tried installing wine on this to see how that would actually go. That would be interesting.
Little combat.
We need to go deeper.
But there's nothing preventing it from happening. But it comes down to being, it's just something that is their outreach to developers, trying to grab some, or get a few more on there and stuff like that. But I don't. The thing is, I find it interesting, but I honest to God don't know what I'd use it for. I'm impressed. I am impressed with the technology.
It's an interesting curio.
Yes, it just comes down to. I mean, then again, we're probably not the people to ask. Because I mean, the Windows people would probably be far more shit like, I can run Linux stuff, yay! As opposed to us, we're like, I can run Linux stuff on Windows when I already have Linux.
For I to equal 1 to.
But, so that's all I got. That's my thing. So thank you. What are you talking about in October?
I don't know. What do you guys want to hear about? You got your choices. I can do something on YubiKeys. Again.
Aren't YubiKeys dead now?
No, they've got the new standard that they're adhering to.
The FIDO stuff.
So you can do it with like websites and stuff.
I thought they went closed source. Somebody went
Well, they
closed source.
voice sort of thing. Closed source.
What else you got? I know YubiKeys is. YubiKeys it is.
No, I can do something with Raspberry Pi and PiCam.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Wow.
Doorbell
Sure. Security
or your scope.
Security camera. Security cam.
Sure.
Good.
That would be cool.
Okay. How about we do both?
Should run my pocket chip in.
Yeah, small
Yeah,
system.
we'll do-
Small systems
Get
night.
a pocket chip.
Oh yeah.
Do that for December.
I was looking at doing something like small format computers later on.
Okay.
January.
Oh, I gotta make another page in the spreadsheet for 2017.
I'm having a heck of a time with the Pine 64.
Have you included its?
Pine 64.
Are you still recording?
Yes, I'm still recording. You need me to.
When you stop recording, let me know.
Okay. Hey.
Are we done recording?
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.